Welcome everyone to What the Force, and welcome to a new Clone Wars special report. And with me for this episode and all of the rest of them is Kyle Gould.
Hello, everyone. I mean, Misa's so happy to be in here.
Oh God, did they say that one?
Yeah.
It's just gonna get worse.
Misa is owing you the life debt.
That's how I got you to marry me.
Yeah.
Okay. That was not a bad impression of Jar Jar Binks.
It wasn't a good impression of Jar Jar Binks.
It was a halfway decent impression of Jar Jar Binks.
A mediocre 11 at night Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, we're recording very late on a Friday night.
Math hat. Yeah, anyway.
No. All right, so we're here to discuss Season 7, Episode 3, On the Wings of Keeradaks. It's very, you can picture it with the name.
Yep.
And the fortune cookie moral of the episode starts out with...
Survival is one step on the path to living.
It's very, yes, that's true. You have to survive to live.
They're so weird this season. Like, they are not written by a philosophy major, I will tell you that.
or somebody that's like, specializing in Zen Buddhism or something.
They feel like Jack Handy from Saturday Night Live lessons. Like Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy. Survival is one step on the path to living. You're not truly living unless you take that first step to surviving.
Not dying.
Living is one step on the path to survival. Pathing is one step on the living to survive.
It is, to me, it just feels like a duh. Like, yeah, like, okay, so if you're not surviving, you're dying. I don't know.
Welcome to Confucius word salad.
It was like, did they put it all into a blender and mix it all up? And I suppose it's supposed to tie back to the general theme of, hey, we got to escape and live and survive to fight another day or to live. Because, that's all about from Echo's perspective, but I don't know.
Yep.
All right. So, of course, there is a spoiler warning for this and all other episodes, and we're going to deep dive into the episode kind of step by step, and we leave off exactly where we were, like moments later.
Not even moments later. Moments before. The intro totally knocked me out because while he's doing the intro, it leads right into the episode.
Yeah. Like, yeah, there's no time. These episodes are very tightly connected.
Because Rex and Tech are in the Art Deco Frankenstein's lab, right?
Yeah.
But this show doesn't start there. This show starts just after they go inside.
Yeah, and we see Anakin. Yeah, we see Anakin and the Bad Batch outside, the rest of them, and they're doing their thing, and Anakin's like, oh, better go check on them.
You guys stay here and take them out. I'm gonna go. I have questions.
So this whole episode, I thought about how like wonderful Anakin's clothes were animated.
Well, that is funny that you say that because there are actual animators that are just on staff to do the clothing animation and to do all the texture animations. So
because like it like flapped, like his Jedi robes like flapped in the wind at one point, and I was like, they really care.
They do. Yeah, it's so apparent.
And like his hair moves. We haven't really talked about Anakin's hair, but we should because the clones really don't have hair. So we should talk about how amazing Anakin's hair is in this cartoon.
Like, would you like me to then toss out some of the names like the technical director of this episode?
Sure.
Because she would have been super responsible for all of that. The technical director of this episode, and in fact has been the technical director for all 3 episodes of season 7 so far, is Caitlin Torsney. Caitlin Torsney started out as the assistant tech director for Rebels. She did 48 episodes of Rebels as the assistant tech director.
Wow.
And then did Resistance, 20 episodes there. And then at some point, after completing 20 episodes with Resistance, was promoted to tech director. And they removed assistant from her title. And for 18 episodes of Resistance, and now all 3 episodes of Clone Wars, Season 7, she has been the technical director.
What was her name again?
Caitlin Torsney.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that says all of her credits are with this. I think she may have done some stuff beforehand, but it's not on IMDb, so she is directly a bring up from within Lucas, or within Lucasfilm itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. So, who wrote and directed this episode?
Well, I think it's pretty clear who wrote this episode.
I don't know. Who is it?
It is none other than Matt Miknovitz and Brent Friedman.
No Dave Filoni?
No Dave Filoni.
Interesting.
No help from anybody else.
So this was the original script people, basically.
Close to. Mm-hmm. There are some things about the original script that have changed in this episode. Yes, some of the maybe less PG, more PG-13 elements of that first episode have been dropped for this episode.
There was PG-13.
Well, at one point, they're in the Frankenstein's lab, and Wat Tambor is on the other side of it, and he shows the effectiveness of that thermal detonator style droid.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, like it kills.
That's gone.
It kills like organic material.
Yeah,
basically.
One of the Poltex is just vaporized by it.
Oh yeah, I remember now. And that is why the episode is only 18 and a little bit minutes, because they basically cut an entire scene.
Yeah, I think it was necessary. Yeah. I don't think that shock and awe was necessary, especially for young minds to watch the poor native guy get destroyed.
Like the indigenous person.
Yeah, let's just wipe out indigenous populations. Jeez.
I mean...
I'm going to come back to that in a bit.
Wat Tambor is not a good person. I don't know if you.
What are you talking about? He's a capitalist, and capitalism is good.
Oh, he's very much a capitalist. This will affect our profits. This will affect our profits.
He always like that. That species just kind of seems like the janitor is up to no good in a superhero high school.
Yeah. Well, and like he kind of, I don't know, floats.
Yeah, he buffs the floor wherever he goes.
He buffs the floor wherever he goes. Gentle so that makes sense now. Yeah, there is kind of a gentle whirring. I wonder if that's intentional. Is that why the floors are so shiny, Kyle?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Also, they're shiny because they have to slide around all over on them. I want to point out the other person I thought I pulled from this episode, because right now this is International Women's Week. We'll get to him in a moment, but it's International Women's Week, and I pointed out Caitlin Torsney as well. There are not a lot of women on the technical side of these episodes. I wish there was more directors, writers, things like that were doing these things. But the series casting, so the casting for the series itself, going back
like casting
all the
director.
way to the beginning here, is Lindsey Halper. And Lindsey Perlman Halper. She just so happens to be day 463 of 365 days Women of Star Wars.
Oh, cool.
So she's
little shout out to Amy Rickow, who's been on the show before, and she runs
friend of the show. Amy Rickow. She is super influential. And a shout out just for her. Hope you come on the show. Tell us how you got connected and brought on to Star Wars, and because literally she's like the deciding factor as to whether or not a person's voice is heard on the animation. All of the animated shows casted by her and her company. And she is in LA, because that's where they all live. Yeah. But on August 22nd, the Voice Actors Network is putting together an animation clinic with Lindsey, where she will walk you through and do 2 cold reads and do all of this. Check it out. Look for it on Google. If you're in LA and you want to be a voice actor for Star Wars, and of course, who doesn't, this is what's happening literally around the time that this episode comes out next week. Yeah, in August. Limited space available.
And so like this summer it's coming
This
out.
summer. Yeah, she's doing a
So just
seminar.
before Star Wars Celebration in the general area.
Yes.
Interesting.
Lindsey is literally the responsible party for all of the animated casting for voices.
They must very much trust her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
She's on the inside. She's one of the most important people for the development and the overall picture. She would put the names and faces in front of directors of the people that she thinks fit the casting that they've asked her for.
I wonder what is the difference, and I probably should have asked one of the voice actors I've talked to along the way. What is the difference that they like, when they audition? Do they like send in a demo reel? Do they like...
It all depends.
Yeah.
Likely there's a demo reel involved, or there's a cold read that they've asked. If they're asking a
them
specific
to read
person,
something,
it depends on the way you've been brought into the field. But they're also looking for some versatility in your voice too, because they always want a voice actor to voice multiple characters if possible, because it's cheaper to do that.
Yeah, except for our good friend Matt Lanter, who only got to voice like 2 other characters over the course of the whole season or whole series and they were like background secondary characters because his voice was so recognizable through the through line playing Anakin, right? So,
well, I mean, yeah.
But like you have people like Dee Barker Bradley who do lots of other voices. When Sam Witwer's around, he'll do tons of other voices, stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see
like
that.
Matt Mercer. He doesn't voice extra characters. He does one character.
Who, Matt Lanter?
Matt Mercer.
Oh, yeah, Matt Mercer is like that voice.
He's that guy.
You can recognize that voice every cartoon he's in.
Yeah. And Kristen Freeman the same way. Like, he will not be playing any other characters.
Yeah.
That's the character.
Yeah.
So, Bosco Ing, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Bosco Ing is the director of this episode. He directed 10 episodes of Clone Wars. So he's directed previous episodes. Then he moved on to direct episodes of Rebels and episodes of Resistance. And he got his start in the art department at Lucasfilm, and he's worked his way up. He actually has a great LinkedIn profile. He tells you his little story as to how he got involved and where he comes from. And his LinkedIn profile is a really fun read if you want to see how do I become a director of Star Wars episodes down the way. I have to tell you, most of them come out of the art department. Most of them start in the art department working on character and creature art, and then they start working into storyboarding because they have that artistic talent already. And because you're developing storyboarding, that's what gets you into the next stage.
Yeah, it's very similar for like Dave Filoni, Justin Ridge. They all kind of came from that vein of being able to do the storyboarding. Interesting.
Yeah, he talks a lot about who he has to work with and what it means to be a director of an animated television show episode.
Cool.
Yeah, not the whole show, just come in, do this episode, and then move on to go back into the part of the art department, do other things, and then come back and do another episode as director.
Yeah. That's a really super interesting. People should go check out his LinkedIn profile.
It's so much fun. How they translate the script into a 3D stage play, and during the design of the visual story. And yeah, he's worked with George and the discussions that are involved in those parts of the director process.
So how long has he been around with Lucasfilm?
Well, he directed 10 episodes of Clone Wars, so he's been around since probably the late seasons. I didn't check to see exactly when, but he's been around for a really long time. He's also the one who wrote Jack Attack, which was like a one-off thing that happened after The Incredibles in 2004.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He wrote that.
That's awesome.
So those are the people I wanted to touch on this episode for the crew. It was a really cool crew, but again, we're starting to see a lot of the same names in the end credits. So I will just try to pick up on some of the different teams and the different groups as we move on through the series, and we see who else was involved in the directing and in the writing and in the other departments.
So what did you think of this episode in general? Overall, high level feelings?
There's just too much combat for me.
There's a lot of combat.
It's a lot of combat, but it's combat with purpose in some ways.
Yeah.
there's a lot of how war impacts indigenous populations that are not connected or tied to the war at all and are dragged into it, sometimes kicking and screaming. And that has a lot to say. Like, we live here in Canada and we are not exposed to what's going on in the Middle East at all, as villages and towns are suddenly, American troops just show up. And now you're on their side because they're right next to you, even if you don't want them there.
Yeah.
And they're fighting your neighbors. I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for the Poltecs. They don't even speak their language. They have to translate it right away. And the Poltecs have like zero opportunity to really benefit from it, other than getting to be on the other side of the rolling rock. And I love how all the Poltecs kind of look at each other when he rolls the rock, and they're like, oh, this is what that looks like from the other. This is awesome from this side. Oh my gosh. I loved this episode. There were some majorly great
moments.
Changes to what we anticipated and expected. I was like, these new droids are cool. They're like super punk with these kick-ass mohawks. And they're like weird extra arms that are maybe not arms. Their movement always seemed a little herky-jerky, and they got like six legs and six appendages instead of 4. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then you sent me a screenshot today of the Bad Batch and Anakin on the crosswalk.
It's like a pipe or something in there.
Yeah. And the droids are advancing on them on either side.
Yeah.
And they're like, we've got our way out, right?
Yeah.
They get away. It was really like all that stuff happens. And then my highlight moment of the entire episode is what happens next. Was that the same highlight moment for you?
When they get away?
Yeah. No, after they get away and the droids do their thing.
And they like fly? They fly now? Yeah, to quote Finn. Yeah.
I was literally wrote that in all caps on my page. I was like, man, Wrecker's problem with gravity is hilarious, gay. And I don't finish that sentence. I'm like, exclamation mark, caps lock, droids that fly?
Yeah. And we actually have a name for them now. They are called D-Wing droids.
They should really be called Rocketeer battle droids.
So the thing is, when they fly, they look even more like Geonosians.
Don't they?
Yeah.
So much.
So I think that design is purposeful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What a back pocket pull that was, because I didn't see it. And their wings are so iridescent and colorful.
They're pretty.
Just like the Geonosian wings.
Yeah. And you know, it kind of reminds me of the general style. Again, continuing on that Art Nouveau style that we see with the Techno Union like machinery and stuff.
Their mohawks. That's not a stylistic choice. That's literally like the Rocketeer's helmet rudder. That's literally how they steer, is with their heads turning it this way and that with their rudder.
Some designer really thought these guys through.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I just also want to point out, because I mentioned the Rocketeer, Jennifer Connelly never ages.
No.
She has great skincare regimen.
Yeah. So for me personally, I really, really enjoyed this episode. People have been commenting on that it was a shorter episode. I appreciated something that does come out a lot. Generally speaking, I'm going to talk about this now rather than later, the thematic stuff that really caught my eye. Echo has almost exactly lost all of the limbs that Anakin eventually loses, right? Because he's missing the same arm. He's missing the legs. You know, he still has his natural first arm, but he is more machine than man. And this is a man versus machine, or the machine that takes over the man, and how you end up becoming dehumanized or inhuman because of it is a big theme in Star Wars in general, especially with Vader and the fact that Anakin is in the room, and how we see Echo not in, at least in this episode, technology is not evil. Technology in Star Wars especially, whereas in like some some movies and some franchises and some fiction, you will see technology played against naturalism a lot. So like, especially industrialization versus, natural ways of living. In Star Wars, machines are just tools of people with other purposes. So how you use that machinery is what is important to the conversation, rather than necessarily the fact that the machinery exists at all. So,
but the good guys are good because their planets have more green spaces.
Yes, generally, because to use the tools, the bad guys or the people that are more willing to mine and dig and destroy natural locations to use and build and create those machines, right? So the Techno Union is bad because they take away, eco-civil liberties. They now don't even view him as, a sentient. He is an experiment part of the machine, and that is a very dehumanizing element in and of itself. And Echo's goal in this episode was to prove that he is still useful even though he is no longer, full clone. And I think that that's just like a really important thematic thing to pay attention to in Star Wars. So if you, have an opportunity to kind of think about it, it is something that will start to jive with you as you look at all these different things. Back to the fortune cookie at the start of the episode. Yeah, you can't actually live unless you can get away from your troubles. I really did enjoy this episode. It did feel shorter. And I mean, we've already talked about the reasons for that. It felt like it had good pacing. Like, now that we've gotten out of this situation, what's on to the next one? And yeah, my favorite moment is actually just before the wings appear, before they escape, is on that bridge, and just that shot of, the 6 clones and Anakin with his lightsaber. And it almost looks like all 6 clones are looking the opposite direction of Anakin, because they know that whatever, like, 6 clones are the value of 1 Anakin Skywalker.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it just, to me, like, that shot itself, you see it, like, they're almost all turned the other direction towards the droids, being like, yeah. And we see that repeated again when we have the 2 big tripod droids that attack the Poltec village, and Anakin's like, I got this one, you got the other one, Rex. And Rex is like, yeah, we'll work on it together, because it takes like all of them to take down the other tripod droid.
Well, there's 3 of them.
I thought there was only 2.
There's 3, and Anakin takes out 2 of them.
Okay.
And Hunter and everybody else takes out 1 of them.
Yeah.
After Anakin had already
kind of pushed it into.
He basically cut off the pieces of it. Then he attacked the other one and pushed it into the other one. They blew up, and Hunter and his group took care of the one. And then Hunter gives the line. It's a good line. It's hard to compete with a Jedi.
Yeah, exactly. And
but he's trying.
Yeah, like he's trying. A couple of other like general things that I absolutely loved about this episode. Hunter has a bigger knife from somewhere.
Yeah, somebody tossed him the bigger yellow knife.
And I'm like, he's got the smaller knife and the bigger knife now.
Yes.
He's looking more like Leonardo.
More and more. They'll turn into swords eventually.
They're just going to expand.
Like, one of them is literally a machete.
Yeah, I was thinking
electro machete.
Like a Bowie knife, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it looked way bigger. I was like, Hunter, what are you doing?
So fun.
Yeah, so we have, more of the Wrecker being afraid of heights, but yet he overcomes that. We have Tech literally doing all of the good work. Like, how do those guys survive without Tech? Like,
I would just like to also point out that it is very important that every ARC trooper, which stands for, do you know what ARC stands for?
Oh, it's like Advanced Reconnaissance Clone? Commander. Yeah, okay.
Advanced Recon Commando. It's an advanced position. And I have some questions about that. But first, it is good to know that every ARC trooper has an ARC welder on their person at all times.
It's convenient.
Super important.
But it's also like how all the guns are also Ascension guns.
Right. Yes. You've got your Ascension mount for your blaster.
Yeah.
I have no idea how that works, but hey,
And everybody's got
well.
welding. And everybody's got a way to breathe underwater.
Yeah. Those are super important.
Everybody's Batman.
It blew my mind that those droids could open those doors with their arms. I was like, those arms aren't good for anything. At the very beginning of the episode.
Oh, like when they're like they're like pulling. Yeah. I mean, like, that's why they're cool, because they fly, and then they also can open doors. I suppose.
This is the hierarchy of where I value battle droids at. I didn't think those arms could open doors.
I mean, battle droids are pretty strong. Like it's just the fact that they're always facing like Jedi, and so they'd seem not cool. And
they never shoot to hit. They never manage to hit anything.
They're never very, What did you think of was it the Destroyer?
No, that is called a Decimator.
The Decimator. Okay, so the Decimator like gets its way in there, and Wrecker's like, "Oh, I fight you," and he's about to blow up the room.
Yeah.
Yes, and
I don't think Wrecker ever wanted to fight it. I don't think Wrecker had.
No, I don't think he realized what it was, and Anakin probably sensed, "Oh, this is going to destroy you."
Yeah.
So yes, in the original series, you actually do see it, or in the original like rough animation, you do actually see it destroy one of the Polteks, and so
crazy.
Yeah, I don't know that they needed that, and yeah, you got the impression it was dangerous enough how it was outlined. Like what happened with Wrecker and how Wrecker was like, it's coming for me. Like, you didn't need to see that it was, and then we had the follow-up line about, there's no organic material, so it can't kill things.
I love that Wrecker can just throw guys 30 feet in the air.
He lifted the entire tripod droid.
Well, he stopped it from slamming
No,
its
and then
foot down.
He pushed it.
What?
He pushed it as well. Like, it was already falling.
I mean, yeah.
But, like, he helped. He
didn't lift it up, but he definitely... It didn't kill the person that was being dragged by the other Poltek. He saved that creature's life.
He was able to... He deadlifted that.
So just want to point out
that
as strong as Wrecker is...
Yes.
Tech is that smart.
Yes.
Because Tech is able to translate the Poltek language after hearing, like, 6 words... into complicated topics.
Oh, yeah.
Which we'll get to in a bit. But I want to go back to the very beginning because when we left off...
Sorry, I love this. I love this episode. It was shorter than normal. It was good. Okay.
And yet I could talk about this episode for hours, and here's why. So, are you ready?
No.
Here it comes. This is the big...
Okay.
These are Kyle's thoughts. In the last episode, Echo fell out, and he was still all connected to all the tubes.
Yeah.
This time, he balls out into Rex's arms. He's there. And then Tech says, I'm still trying to decrypt Echo's cerebral interface. Until I do, we cannot disconnect him from this computer system.
Yeah.
What the hell? And this is like, there's so much of the Matrix in this. Even when
I thought there was a ton of the Matrix in this too. Yeah.
All of the cables have that.
And then when they pulled out, they're like the
hiss. Where'd the steam come from? Why is there...
I assume it was partially keeping him cold.
I would think, but I think it was also the connection. It was literally what was connecting him to all of the computers. And there was a whole ton of computers. There were so many computers, there were literally corridors you could walk down to keep them cool.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Well, and I mean, it was the entire separatist... like analytics computing, basically. This is what this is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was connected to it in such a way that his cerebral interface needed to be decrypted in order to disconnect him from the computer system. Look, I do not turn off my USB drives before unplugging them from the computer.
But you used to get warnings if you did that.
And I'm guessing...
way back when. So this is more analog than modern day.
I'm guessing that Echo is one of those sensitive USB drives.
Don't plug him in the wrong way. You try to plug Echo in, and then you have to turn it around to the other side.
And do you know, like, I don't think they would have built sub-protocols to disconnect Echo.
No,
they
he
built
was never
him into the system. He was never intended to come out.
Never intended.
Tech manages to, like, using a keyboard that I did not see any divinable. They were just literally buttons. There were no symbols on these buttons or anything. And Tech knew which all of them were. And he pushes all the buttons and he pulls up the interface to his HUD and he manages to free Echo.
No, he's very smart.
I keep having to suspend my disbelief because if I can believe that Wrecker can toss a 210-pound clone trooper in full gear, who probably therefore weighs a bit more than that, 30 feet up in the air to the place where he wanted him to go.
Yeah, no, not just a random place.
That Tech can do what Tech needs to do.
Yes.
But then I have some other questions.
Okay, this feels like a rabbit hole. Are we going down a rabbit hole?
I don't know.
Are we going down a Warren?
I don't know because they also gave... So here's the thing. They planned on hooking Echo up for forever.
Yeah.
But they still took the time to give him new Darth Maul legs.
Yeah, like does he like once a year get to go walk around?
I don't know. And
he also has the interface arm.
And then they gave him the droid interface arm. And he can literally interface.
He can use it.
With the computer.
Well, it's because he's got like all that tech stuff on the inside too. So he's like, again, more machine than man.
So
big important thing.
He's a Borg that they hooked up into the Matrix.
Yes, he is a Borg.
He's a Borg in the Matrix.
Yes. Very powerful. This is what Matrix number 4 is going to be, isn't it?
I could not tell you, but it kind of looking at Echo and then remembering Grievous, and I'm like, man, Grievous, you don't have nearly the awesome tech that even Echo has, and you're mostly machine.
Yeah, he just decided. So like Grievous's background is really interesting. He comes from like this warrior race, and so he was always trying to just like perfect himself. So, I mean, different intention.
Exactly.
Right?
But also he's Grievous and he's not so smart.
He's less smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And
he's not a planner, oddly, for a general.
Yeah. Oh man.
No, I really liked that whole, like, him disconnecting. I really liked, especially Rex being like, Echo, are you okay? Like, after, like, immediately, like, are you okay, buddy? Like, did you change because now you're unplugged? And he's like, Rex, I have a headache.
Yeah, because he's got all this additional information in his head.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't think we realized that to begin with, but then they're walking through the ducts and they say a lot of computers.
Yeah, they're back into the... They leave and go into the freezing corridors, and that's when we realize how much information is being stored in the computing systems and how much information Echo had access to and how he knows how to escape.
Yes, supposedly. They never get to go there.
No.
And there wasn't even potentially a ship there for them to get on, so it was like
he just
grasping at straws.
Yeah, we're going to go to the landing pad over the precarious, fall to nowhere, because again, no handrails.
Yeah. And it's just lucky that Tech records absolutely everything. Which Hunter says, he records everything. Pause. It's a hobby.
So, Talking Bay on Twitter was tweeted out today. He's like, is this a Ben Burt reference? Ben Burt being the, original sound designer on Star Wars and, did all the original trilogy, etc. And that is, he was quite known for just kind of recording everything to have a plethora of sounds to pull from a sound design perspective. And that's immediately what I thought of when I saw.
I just thought that was ridiculously creepy.
I also thought maybe he had a podcast.
Or he's got an actual play, we do know audio engineers now, and I've seen videos of them literally recording noises.
Everything.
Yeah. So
maybe he's actually working for Palpatine to set him up with his podcast so that he can broadcast across the galaxy in 60 years.
Yeah, or he just really liked the sound that the creatures made when they were being called to summon. And he was like, oh, why? I have that. Because, again, he's super smart.
And it could be just how he torments his brothers in the Bad Batch is that he plays back their arguments and wins every argument.
Yep. I have a bit of trivia for you.
Mm-hmm.
Who is it that Wrecker saves by leaping off of the pipe?
It's Crosshair.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not clear because you think it's the person directly in front of him. It's not. Tech is directly in front of him and Tech warns him, don't bump me, I'll fall. And then he leaps past Tech to save Crosshair and Tech doesn't
he's
fall.
very brave, even though he's afraid, right? I did like earlier on we saw that Crosshair could see through walls and could see like the droids and the Techno Union guys outside of the wall, outside of two walls. Like it wasn't just one because there was two.
Yep.
So like his helmet was super special. His Tech built it though, I'm sure.
I don't doubt. His goggles, because I think it's more than just his helmet. He's got that like goggle thingy on the front of the helmet.
Yeah.
I mean, like whatever, they're connected to it. It's all the same piece of equipment, which is weird because Tech has a helmet that he takes off and then he's got his glasses on underneath. Now, why aren't those all fogged up? Because
and he's got the square like display Google Glass too, right? Yeah.
In front, he's got that extra HUD Google Glass in front of his helmet, and his goggles underneath.
And those are just glasses, right? Like they're like sports glasses,
sports goggles,
sports goggles. And how did he develop, nearsightedness? That is my question.
Or he's always been.
I guess, like they're defective, right? Like that's... Yeah.
Well, more created for specific...
I mean, no, that's not how they framed it. They said that they were defective, but defective with like favorable defects. Like that's what they said in the first episode.
What I read was that they were like bred to be more.
Different. Well, I mean, Cody said one thing.
Yeah.
He's like, so I don't know. I don't think they like nearsightedness in clones.
No, but it's a side effect of advanced intelligence.
I mean, yes. Yes.
Receding.
But have we found out that, Crosshair is obviously really, really good at shooting things from far away, being his super skill. And Hunter just really likes to stab things with knives.
He's got the ability to sense electromagnetic
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he carries around electromagnetic knives at all times.
I know.
It would be cool if they were just normal knives and he was generating the electromagnetism.
The like yellow on them. Yeah, that would be cool. But like, do we feel like Crosshair is like underpowered compared to the rest?
Oh,
I feel like he fades into the background. Hunter at least is like the leader. He's the guy giving the orders.
But then as soon as you get into combat, Crosshair saves everyone.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Like he does, yeah.
He saves Poltech chieftains and he saves Wrecker and he's constantly saving everybody. On a side note,
is the Poltech chieftain the chieftain because he's like at least a foot taller than everybody else?
It seems like he's taller and brighter colored. But that could just also be the way that they want to show us this is a chieftain.
It's a sexual dimorphism. All of the rest of the Poltechs are women.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that feeling, but I don't know their physiognomy, so I couldn't tell you.
I'm looking for a single woman in these episodes, and now I've decided that all the other Poltechs are women. Okay.
Both of Wat Tambor's assistants are women. No, that's not true. They're voiced by David Accord, and they're not so.
We can't tell.
Yeah.
Can we tell the difference between the Poltechs? No.
Do we want to?
Do we know? They could all be asexual. That would be fine too.
One of the things I really loved was the music at one point, because they're like, how do we get out of here? And Tech's like, how else? We jump. And the music literally does a comedic plink plink when the camera turns and everyone turns their heads to look at Tech. And then he's like, and then they literally have to do that.
Yeah, no, props to the music on this one too. There was choral, which is quite a common prequels thing. So you heard like just as they were about to enter onto the bridge of death, which, parallels a lot of movies where they end up getting stuck in the middle and then being chased by both sides. But you also got like tons of anxiety strings. Like it very much played up the emotions of the main characters in this episode. Excellent. And there is actually a Bad Batch theme. There's a theme that you can hear when they're in their full like hero saving the day mode.
The battle mode when they're about to go into war.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out I really liked the top of the place again where the Frankenstein Art Deco lab is. Because it just, I know where it reminds me now of the Calgary Tower that night when we went to that rave at the Calgary Tower.
Yeah.
And I just kept walking around and around in a circle and like it felt like all of the battle droids and all the Bad Batch were there because it's kind of walking around people I didn't normally associate with because we thought it was like more of a party and it turned out to be like a really strange sort of event. And that is also one of my like top 10, maybe top 15 regrets. And in hindsight, I wish we'd just sold those tickets before we went upstairs and gone home.
It was fun.
Yeah. What was it like?
It was weird
because the tickets were like $20 each, and the guy was offering us $400 for our tickets. So it was like this was pretty good money. We could have had a more fun evening, not at that party.
It was a very side tangent.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it really reminded me of that, so I thought that was cool. Yeah. Also, the thermal detonator droid.
Yeah.
To me was like if Pinhead was a droid. With its little knobbies that stick out of everywhere that it allows to generate its purple tentacles.
Yeah, and I thought that was like electricity or something.
It's something. It's organic destroyer. And then those ball walkers.
Yeah,
which were right out of War of the Worlds. Like that's
they did look a lot like that. I don't know if we've seen them before though. I've
never seen those before.
Yeah, they were really cool.
And then they shot purple lasers as well that just like destroyed things anytime it got there.
I think it's about time because we're about to get into the battle. What is our death count?
Ooh, yeah.
Death
that
count.
Almost sounded like heroic music, and this should be like we regret to inform you of the casualties suffered in this week's episode.
This Clone Wars conflict.
So 1 decimator droid.
Okay. Yes, because did it get destroyed? Oh yeah, it did get destroyed because of the bombs that
the most destroyed of all of the things that were destroyed.
Yeah.
So pour one out for the decimator droid because we're sad for that. Can you tell me how many Keeradaks got killed in the episode?
Keeradaks got killed?
I know.
Was it 2?
No, it's just 1.
Oh.
I think you estimated in favor of like, oh, maybe there was more of them dying.
I thought it was just 1, but
it's just the one on screen. Maybe more died elsewhere, but it's really like it's shocking, and it comes out of nowhere and it screams a brutal death cry. And
was
collapses.
It during the fight, like at the Poltex village? Okay,
the village fight, and of course it has to die there because that's like
I feel like
attacking
so many
force.
Poltex died.
Oh my gosh, we'll get to them last. Yeah. How many ball droids? Oh, we already did the ball walkers. There were 3 ball walkers that perished.
D-wing droids.
Pour one out for the 3 ball walkers.
And of course, they have 3 legs because 3 is important in Star Wars.
So, how many droids got axed?
The D-wing
yeah.
droids? Oh,
any guesses?
40.
62.
Oh, okay.
62 you see on screen.
Yeah.
A large majority of them were destroyed by a couple of the grenades. In fact, 13 die in that opening scene with the battle out front of the lab. Then 5 more die in the process of them backing up and getting into the room. I tried to keep track of when they were dying in the episode. But it is really that one big attack on the village in scene 8 when they come in and attack. 38 die there. That's where the big
and they use like the short circuity boomers basically. Yeah.
Most of a lot of them die from that, but a bunch of them die from the ball. I can't remember how many, the big stone that Wrecker
Wrecker
down.
pushes?
Yeah, there's a bunch from that one. And anyway, it totals up to 62 droids, which is a big hit for the Techno Union, I think, at this point, because they lost all this other stuff and then they're losing basically a squad and a half
of these cool flying droids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then So here's the thing. The indigenous population suffers greatly.
Yep.
24 die on screen.
It didn't seem like there was that many to begin with.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I'm so disappointed that you hear them cheering
at the end. Yeah.
When the battle droids leave. So there's two really weird things that happen. One, they're cheering when the battle droids leave. And also, the battle droids retreat. Battle droids never retreat. That I don't think I've seen more than maybe, I can't even recall, battle droids retreating.
Well, they retreated the first time when they were like chasing.
But it's usually when they're given an order to retreat. There was no order.
Well, like they arrive in the village and like then they turn around and then the second time they leave too.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
I didn't understand the battle droids leaving this conflict.
Normally
at this time.
they just wear everybody down until they die. Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe it's again like to our supposition that these flying droids are like experimental or prototypes or something.
So then I also kind of wanted to talk a little bit of, like on a general note, if that's cool.
Sure.
The economy of this war and what's really being sacrificed here, because the separatists, they just pump out droids. It's just droids getting pushed into this battle. There's never personal forces. It's just technology and resources that create these droids, these slaves that go off and have to fight. And on the alliance, the Republic side. The Republic side, it's clones. It's clones.
And Jedi.
The Jedi are just supposed to be the overseas, which is so weird. Like at the end when they're like, we will always be friends to the Jedi, and like, shouldn't you have said the Republic? Why are you saying Jedi? Like
just that one guy. He's just really impressive.
Yes, it's true. This is not war because there's no sense of personal loss.
Yeah.
You see things happen, but they are inconsequential because it's like a kid's show. So we can see the battle droids get taken out because, well, they're just droids. They're not real. They don't live. And then you see the clones. Well, they're all the same.
Yeah.
So what is this show trying to tell us?
Well, it does show that indigenous and local populations do get affected by war a lot. Like that comes up a lot.
Regularly on Ryloth and all the other places they go where there's a battle happening.
We're going to see that probably in Mandalore. Like that's going to be a big thing, right?
And so then I started thinking about cloning in general.
Okay.
Which drives me nuts. So all of these clones.
There's way more clones now in the world too.
So many clones in this world. Like, okay, I have some questions.
Okay.
Are these clones allowed to vote?
They're not considered to be separate from commodity that is owned by the Republic.
So they basically bred their own slave empire.
They did, yeah.
The Republic did.
Yep.
And the Jedi were okay with that in the end.
I mean...
Well, I guess we have them. We have to use them. So does that mean that the clones get paid? Because if you get a promotion to Arc Commando...
Yeah.
And do you get a higher salary?
I don't think that this has ever been covered.
I'm like, so if they do get a salary or they don't get a salary, I'm like, are clones people? That's my first question. And I would say, yes, they're all people.
They are people.
But how do you give clones an ID tag or a driver's license?
Well, they have their number, their identification.
Their identifier number. But then how do you differentiate one clone from another? What is going to happen when the Republic falls and they've got all these clones running around and one clone kills somebody? How do you separate that clone from all of the other clones that could potentially have been responsible for this crime?
I mean, I think that eventually the Empire just kills as many as they can or gets rid of them. Some of them were set up to like help establish and train generations of stormtroopers, but I think that that's part of it is that the Empire ends up starting to use, real recruits, right?
Yep. And so there's a Senate, the Galactic Senate, and that means that it's democratic, right, for the most part.
Yep.
And so if clones are people, do they get to vote? And if so, do they vote as citizens of Kamino or as citizens of Mandalore?
Jango Fett was never actually Mandalorian.
Well, everything says that he's Mandalorian or he has a Mandalore connection.
He has Mandalorian armor.
Yes.
But did he steal it from somebody? We don't know. We don't know. There's lots of questions. I would say we don't know whether the clones have rights, but this is a new thing I'm going to be on with my droids' rights.
Clone
rights.
If you think droids have rights, holy crap, should clones have rights?
Yeah.
Like, because they also have a biological impairment. Like, I think that they can have kids.
Maybe not. Maybe it's inconvenient.
Yes, who knows? There are no female versions, which is making me sad because there really should be.
They should have tried it out.
It would have been perfectly acceptable
to have a
we
female.
We talked about it before.
Yeah, a Bad Batcher. Yeah. Experimental female clone.
So all I have to say is Star Wars has clearly stated time and again that your soul is not connected to your genetics. It's not tied into your DNA. If there's such a thing as a soul, I have no idea how many Horcruxes Jango Fett has made of himself.
Yeah.
Of all of these other clones.
Yeah, so also Yoda.
Yeah.
Clearly says all of your Force signatures are unique, even though you look the same.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think a lot of that personal identity was driven from the Jedi themselves in an effort to humanize this thing that had happened to this population that had been created and then, brought into this conflict by Yoda himself. He went and picked up those clones and brought them to Geonosis.
Yep.
This was his choice.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of what the Jedi had done by taking over being generals, i.e. the Republic was woefully ill-prepared to manage all these clones, was also make them individuals.
Yeah. But they were also just alpha test subjects for Palpatine's cloning of himself.
I suppose, yes.
Now in the end, I thought that was going to get cut from the EU, from the books. I was super excited to not have clone Palpatines running around because of the complications that come from just cloning in general.
Yeah, and you can't clone the Force.
No, you cannot. Well, they all have unique Force signatures. So,
yes.
And each of them is different as an individual.
It's not like, how do the memories get... The memories don't... It's just...
Well, the memories get done the same way that happened to Echo, I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
Just Matrix download. Does that mean Echo also knows Kung Fu?
Maybe. He seems quite talented for having no legs.
Yeah. Also, how is he walking and shooting a gun and snapping witty comments out? Like, he is so emaciated. He has that, his ribs are all showing and there's no belly whatsoever.
I mean, it was all adrenaline, we assume.
I'm going to guess. He's just nothing but skin and bones.
Yeah. No, it's a really good question. And I don't think that the show is going to ever answer it. It's answered weirder questions.
Yep.
But I think, in Rebels, we find out that Rex himself and the other clones that are on that planet, on their little, fishing tank trawler, that they made the choice to take out their chips. So not only are they potentially not citizens or the same rights as other people, they do have leave occasionally.
Yeah.
There was an episode where they had leave.
Because this is the army. And to get that feel, clones have leave. But in that, you find out, okay, they had to take out their chips and desert to leave and live normal lives and hide. Yep.
So yeah. And all these clones that participated in Order 66, where are they now? That's the question, right? We know Rex is at the end of, is that guy on Endor in Return of the Jedi?
He's also that guy that is amazing at the high bar, because when Wrecker throws him up to that ball droid.
Oh yeah, he
that was a literal from Olympic watching high bar routine. That is literally a mount that is done. He's one arm one way, the other arm the other way, and he does the half spin.
Yes.
Oh, so well done.
Rex is the best. Anakin is also the best.
But Anakin is not good at living things.
What?
He's not good at living things. Like, things that are living, he's good at machines. Anakin gets machines.
Oh, yeah.
Living things,
Like
not
his
so
discussion with the leader of the Poltex.
Yeah, where they're like, I guess we wore out our welcome at per coal.
So Anakin using colloquialisms to a population that doesn't speak your language will not work.
No, it won't. It makes no sense whatsoever.
You wore out your what? Yeah, they got mad at him when he brought the war there.
Oh, another thing I saw in the scene that I thought was really funny is those ball droids. And then when they collapse together, the angle down on it, I was reminded of Most Extreme Elimination Challenge and the inflatable ball run.
Yes.
I just really wanted that to happen. And I was sad that it didn't, because it was like a perfect MXC moment.
Well, like, Anakin jumped between them.
Yes. And
that was close enough.
Yeah, they all managed to stay onto the ball droids when they got there. They didn't fall off until he did. And then he gave them a shove, which was so well. Yeah, it's Anakin being Anakin.
Yeah. Which is like, honestly, I could just watch more Anakin being Anakin.
Echo's dead, but not dead.
Yes.
Echo's brain and all of his memories are put into a computer.
Mm-hmm.
So is Echo still in the computer?
I think we can assume by how mad the Techno Union people and Wat Tambor specifically were at the loss of Echo is that he was the essential USB drive that had all of the, secret information that made it all work, right? Otherwise, It's just files. He had the algorithm in his head.
It's just files without impetus. Yeah. So when he was plugged into the computer, he had impetus. So he was still there, even though his body was not in a position of life.
Yeah, there was something about having Echo there that made it work, whereas now it doesn't.
It potentially doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Wat Tambor was like, my experiment. Rah!
So you may know this.
Okay.
Because we've been together as long as we've been together. But I go out of my way to watch movies and read things and learn things about this sort of stuff. Like the Johnny Depp movie Transcendence.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of Heinlein books.
When you get sucked into the machine or whatever, you live in the machine. Yeah.
Yes. The Matrix, 13th Floor.
Yeah.
These are this is the stuff I want to think about all the time.
I think about this none of the time.
Zero.
So I'm like, it works. I don't need to think about the who's, what's, wherefores.
So I'm consistently distracted by Echo because he still has all this hardware. And I'm like, just because you physically unplugged him doesn't mean that he's not still connected.
Yeah.
To that.
There was foreboding music at the end.
Yeah, everything was in minor key.
Yeah.
As it stepped up until it reached the concluding stuff to say, the episode is over. We're going to give you our major theme again. As he says, Rex, thanks for coming for me. And then Rex says, yeah, hopefully it'll be just like old times. Minor keys, done. A worried look from Echo. And he says, yeah. Just like old times. And his expression kind of shifts. Yeah. There's a darker note. And then...
Yeah.
So...
Are you worried?
You have to be worried, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it's Wat Tambor. This is the guy that got pissed off.
Admiral Trench is there, too.
True.
Who is equally unsuccessful.
But the fly droid comes over and he's like, order, sir. And Tambor just doesn't even respond to him, just slaps him away. Ah! And that's usually the sound they make when they die. So does Tambor just kill the droid by slapping it away? It made me laugh so hard. Anyway, I would have liked to have seen Anakin thrown by Wrecker.
It's like, no, I got this.
Anakin's too dignified for that. And so Tambor doesn't see Echo as a person because Echo died.
Yeah.
And they resuscitated Echo and took his memories and his brain. And then Tech was able to take those memories and those key essential components and put them back in the body that they resuscitated.
Yes.
So
he's not going to be the same person. I think that's going to be a thing that we'll see in the next episode.
Agreed. So he was dead. and now he's not. So all of his stuff that was given to other people and potentially like his payout for his being deceased and his insurance claims.
You're very worried about the clones actually receiving appropriate compensation for their
I really
effort.
want that to be the case. But even still, it stands to reason. He was dead, confirmed. They brought him back through technology.
Yes.
And now he's alive again.
Yes.
What are the repercussions of that? How does he get to take his old driver's license number? Does he get to be CT-1409? Because
yes.
the files for all of that have been stamped terminated.
Yeah, but it would be just like somebody being lost in war and then finding them, right?
Right. But let's take it a step further. I am about to die of a critical illness, and you freeze my body.
We are going down a science
brain.
fiction wormhole that I just don't feel comfortable. Okay, fine. Okay, continue. Yes.
Okay, so I die, and my brain gets downloaded, and then they find a way to put my body back together or rebuild my body.
Yep.
And they put my brain and my body back into it. But let's say that happens like 10 years from now.
Yep.
Like, did my insurance pay out on my death? Because technically I wasn't dead? Or is there a death certificate at this point? Like, these are questions that are being asked in scientific journals and medical journals every day as we try to fight off the inevitability of death. People are trying to constantly evade taxes. It only makes sense that the only other immutable thing in life they try to fight is death.
Yes.
And so is there going to come a time where transcendence happens or whatnot? And then how do we deal with the societal ramifications of a person's physical body being no longer amongst us, but can potentially return?
It's crazy.
And if cloning's possible...
Yes. You can grow yourself a new body.
Palpatine's like, I'm Palpatine. And it's like, no,
Are
bitch.
you Palpatine?
You're Palpatine CT-1409.
Yes.
You're not Palpatine.
Yes.
So there's that element as well. So like,
yeah, there's some clone stuff in the Rise of Skywalker book, and we find out that Rey's dad is actually a failed clone of Palpatine's.
It just unnecessary inclusion of things that have moral consequence.
How many clones can one person make?
Well,
he was going for the most cloning award.
Would be Jango Fett. Hands down, he wins that one. But that's because it was an alpha testing, right? Like,
I mean, but...
got to get it right before you do it on yourself.
But like, in the award category, producer gets the award, not the director. So...
Fair.
So Palpatine gets the award.
Right.
He was just trying to create as many clones as possible. Yep.
Best picture of clones. This season and what Star Wars is doing, we've had this discussion before, and it's like Star Wars is science fantasy, not science fiction. And this is exactly where it is, because they take these technological things and they don't explore how it would change society.
Yeah.
Which is what science fiction does.
Science fiction does.
This is they put these things in because they're telling a story about something else. They're telling a story of mythic proportion. They're telling a story of folklore. They're telling a story with a moral.
And what it happens to the emotions in the characters themselves, not necessarily the larger societal impacts, as you said. Yeah.
And the technology is just dross to give it fancy, pretty pictures. It's just a light sword that attracts the attention so they can show you other cool things that are happening.
Yeah.
Not what a light sword potentially does to everything in the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's just a tool to tell more story, for characterization and for emotion, and to mean something symbolically for us. And I think that that's like a really, really important thing, that if we get caught too much in the science fiction, we miss the metaphor behind the story. And that is the most important part.
Well, for Star Wars.
For Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah. But it is important to think about these things because it'll change our own society. We don't want to see
definitely. But like Star Wars itself, like if you end up becoming more science fiction and trying to explain everything, you step away from the fantasy part of the science fantasy.
Right. But we're not trying to explain everything as to why it works. We're just trying to explain what are the ramifications of its existence.
I know. And like it's one of the things where I feel like even though we got like a mini droid rebellion in Solo, we might never get full droid, stories because it is science fantasy and droids play the lowest man, in society all the time. And it's more of a symbolic thing of how people treat the lowest, person in their sphere of influence, rather than necessarily that these stories are actually very important in the societal ramifications of how we treat droids. It's going to be my high horse forever because it'll probably never get dealt with.
Yeah.
But I get to talk about it still.
But for you, it's one of those things that trips you up in the scope of this folklore, this myth.
Yeah.
Because it's outside the scope. It's just the dross that they've added to this, right? These are supposed to just be the servant, and he's a secondary character, and he serves way to help.
Comment, or he serves to help or to give us a different lens by which to view the story. Especially C-3PO is the audience in the room, because he says, oh, we're never going to make it out of this alive, and expresses our worry, right? Like that is the point of these droids, is to give us that, identifiable, oh no, feeling.
But then they put restraining bolts on them, and you wonder,
wait,
is that right?
They can feel pain? Why can they feel pain?
Yep.
And you end up just going like down a weird, philosophical rabbit hole with things.
But it's also good because it puts that context and that commentary into our own lives. How do we see things from our own perspective? Mm-hmm. Which is, so it's
still valuable.
It's valuable. It's not what it's about.
I know.
But it does let us see things from a separate lens.
It's just interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I die,
yes,
I will die. And part of my rabbit hole today comes down to this because it's really cool. This is all Disney property now. There's this massive rumor, old wives' tale, that when Walt Disney died, he had his body cryogenically frozen, right? Like this is the rumor everyone has heard, because Walt Disney was a forward-looking man. He died suddenly.
He built Tomorrowland, right? Like he built Epcot. He built the world of tomorrow that he imagined. Yeah.
And he was envisioning these things, and like 2 years before his death, there was a big book that came out, a ton of science fiction about people being frozen and then being brought back to life. And they were doing scientific experiments on frogs that they found that could weather through permafrost by being frozen in the swamp. And then when the swamp thawed, the frogs would come back to life. And they're like, what? This is blowing our minds. And
so you think Walt Disney is frozen in the middle of Disneyland?
No, there's like a 7,000 word Snopes article that basically fully debunks this. And it is amazing reading.
Oh, cool.
Amazing reading.
I'm happy you don't think that.
No, it is not even possible. It wouldn't be possible to bring him back anyway, because the technology for freezing him and doing all the things that they needed to do, we still can't do today. So even if it had happened, he's gone. But also, Walt Disney had a massive fear of death his entire life. He did not even want to go to other friends and people he knew's funerals, because he said, I do not want the last memory or the last vision I have of that person being of the lack of that person. I would rather not even go to a memorial, because I would rather think about the other things that I had of my time with them and not have that piece associated irreparably therein. And man, that struck a chord with me. Nobody really likes going to funerals for the person who's deceased. You go to the funeral for the people who are also there, the also living people. But anyway, that's why his funeral was very small, very short, only family, not even executives at Disney were invited. It was at a small, and the funeral home to this day will not say who was at that funeral and anything about it, because it was part of Walt's very lengthy description as to why he was not going to have a funeral. And it just made me think, how much of a funeral does any clone get?
None. I mean, we saw that in the first episode of the Bad Batch. In that, clone died and boom.
And even less for droids.
Less for droids, yeah.
Thanks.
It was a very deep rabbit hole of your psyche.
Well, thank you.
So if I have the opportunity
to
upload you to a computer before death, would you like me to take it?
As long as I'm a sentient AI inside the computer, that would be fine by me.
It would be a mind prison, but aren't all brains mind prisons?
Yeah. You start to wonder how long a thought takes when you're computing at microseconds.
Brains are still faster than every computer we have.
Right. So then time passes in a different way for someone who perceives and has senses that are completely different.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily have senses the same. Because most of how we think is based on our ability to absorb information from all of the variety of things, including touch.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kyle, for joining us for On the Wings of the Keeradaks.
Yeah.
You will be back, of course. We will be back next week for the next episode. The last in the Bad Batch arc.
I'm sad.
You're going to miss them?
I think it's going to end poorly. You
think so?
I just don't see Echo making it out of this again.
I don't remember.
Well, I'm glad for that.
I don't like, now that you reminded me about the, ball droid that destroys organic material, I remembered that part from watching these things. I remember Crisis on Utapau, like the other arc with Obi-Wan and Anakin, much better. I don't know what it is about this one that I don't remember. But yeah, I don't remember what happens, so I'm with you. It was so long ago that I watched it. You're concerned. I sense your concern.
Well, like cloning, death, and artificial intelligence are major through points of these episodes now.
Yes.
And those things are deeply embedded in me.
And this is like the first set of episodes after The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And now it's got like all of this like stuff around it in the book for The Rise of Skywalker is coming out right after this set of episodes is complete.
Yep.
So cool. We don't know what Star Wars is trying to say at this time, but we will continue to watch.
Yeah, this is a weird one because all of this stuff has already been said.
Yeah.
And now they're just honing it, prettifying it, putting those other pieces together and showing it to us as they segue, or they're like, oh, we really need to put something out because it'd be great to have some sort of content. And it's great because nothing new is coming out on Disney Plus at this time. This is the only really new thing, interesting, capture your attention, Star Wars or Marvel related.
Yeah, because like there's Disney shows that are coming out right now, but this is the only thing in that Star Wars and Marvel like set of things. But there should be more stuff coming out in the summer, I think, from a Marvel perspective. So we'll see. Yep. Overall, enjoyed this episode. Now that we are depressed about the state of death and transcendence in uploading ourselves into the machine and what that all involves. Thank you, Kyle, for that.
It's not depressive. It just gives you opportunity to think about what they're doing in the world right now. Would you rather talk about the state of war and how troops are disposable people?
No.
Like,
I mean, it's sad. War is exactly that. It's suffering.
Yep. War is never fought by those who are truly at conflict.
Yeah, true. It's always behind. Those are the people that stay behind.
It's always pawns in proxy. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, are our droids and our clones.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, thank you again for joining me in this conversation. Where can people find you if they're looking for you online?
If people are looking for me online, they can find me at Tavern Tales DM on Twitter. It's generally where I would go to look for myself on Twitter or on social media. I'm not on Instagram. I don't care about Facebook. I don't even know of any other social media outlets these days. That's where
you're not on TikTok.
No. No. I feel like I'm too ugly for TikTok or too old. Ugly and old.
Ugly and old for TikTok. All right. We will be returning for episode 4. This is called Unfinished Business. Anakin and the Bad Batch attempt to gain a victory for the Republic. So my understanding is that they're going after Wat Tambor and Admiral Trench.
Well, Trench isn't going to make it.
Trench is already half spider, half machine.
So many cyborgs.
There's a lot of cyborgs.
Tambor is going to live.
I mean, yeah, because Anakin gets to kill him later. So.
Yeah. So I think we're done for Trench, which is too bad because it's such a cool character.
So cool. Yeah. Such a cool design. All right. Take care, everyone. Signing off from Clone Wars Special Report. Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music composed by Christy Carew for What the Force. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We'd like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force. Melody, Night Huntress, In Wild Space, Susan, Jessica, Brad, Anna Perez, Macau Mom, Neil, and James. Make sure you like and subscribe on your podcast app of choice or on YouTube. Leaving a 5-star review on iTunes helps other people find the show. You can connect with us on Twitter at What the Force Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, or on our website, whattheforce.ca. We also have a new Discord. Links are available in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.